So, we have the BlackVue dash cam already installed. Now it's time to do the PowerMagic Pro. Hardwire this to the vehicle. About time, right? And yeah, let's get to installing. Hey folks, welcome back to GeekSmart. So today we're installing the PowerMagic Pro device. Now this is for the BlackVue dash cam that I installed actually a few months ago. I've been trying to get to this install for a while now, and I finally have some free time to get it done. So this essentially is a hardwiring kit for your BlackVue dash cams. This constantly monitors the battery, so it won't drain your battery. So if your battery starts getting to the point where it gets weaker, it'll automatically kill power to the camera. So even if it's running for multiple days, whatever. You can also probably set how many days it can do as well. You can put a cutoff voltage. You can cut off timer. So if you only want it to run for so many, how many hours anyway. Low voltage adaptive voltage cutoff. 12-24 volt compatible. So either 12 volt or 24 volt systems. Parking mode switch as well. So we're going to get into installing this, and yeah, so let's take a peek what's in the box, and then we'll go from there. So what comes in the box of the PowerMagic Pro? What we're going to do here, we actually have a few things going on. We actually have the module, we have the power plug itself, and then we have within here, of course, we have the screws to mount the module, or adhesive tape, or a combination of both. We have instructions on how to actually get it powered up, and take this guy apart. You have a couple things here. One, this is the item that actually plugs into the module. We actually have ACC positive power. We have battery. We have ground. So these are items that you can see how long they are, right? They're only so long. So you may have to extend these just so you know. But we have battery, we have ground, and ground you can obviously ground inside. So one going to the battery positive, one going to an accessory positive. So it knows what to, when to pull out the battery, when to pull off the thing, and of course to adjust, knowing how much is left in the battery to when to shut down if necessary. So that's what we have going on here. Okay, so now that we're actually installing it, I have the wiring harness that I showed you just a minute ago. This is going to be way too long. I'm just going to tie that up to itself, to be honest. But we will have the yellow and black, or yellow and red wires. I actually ran those before, and I'm going to show you where I did that here. In another video, while I was pulling wires to the front of the vehicle, I pulled them with it. And so the red wire, which is an accessory plus, I'm actually not going to use the one I pulled, because I tried to pull it to the front of the vehicle where the main fuse box is. But in my vehicle, all the main fuses are not accessory fuses, or accessory power, I guess. They're all full 12 volt power all the time, even when the vehicle's off. Which means I could pull it off for technically the battery connection, but I'm going to actually wire this to the battery using a fuse that I already have in place that I was using for my trailer harness, since that's only going to be used when the vehicle's on, and this isn't going to pull a whole lot of power. I actually have enough power on that. The accessory one, I'm actually going to have to tie into the internal fuse box underneath the dash, which is a little harder to get to. It's going to be trickier, but I actually have a fuse pull-off for that. So that's something that you may have to buy in addition to this thing, is either some additional wire. So I do have some additional yellow and red wire that I'll show you here in a second what I did. Or at least I'll show you when we actually hook it up to the battery. How about that? And then you may also need like a fuse pull-off. So let me show you what I got. Okay, so what I got was some fuse taps. So this is actually a pack of 10 of them. A pack of 10 of these guys was $9. I'm gonna put links down below to these as well. This is the mini fuse tap. So you may have to change which variety you need for your vehicle. There's several different fuse type varieties out there. Just make sure that it matches the type that is actually where you're placing it. In this vehicle, they're basically all the same. It's the newer mini style, or the really small style, the low profile ones. So that's what I have here, which is what I'm going to use for my accessory hookup. And then the battery hookup's going to go directly to the battery, and then the ground is just going to be grounded in the vehicle, and I'm just going to do that probably nearby to wherever I mount the device, probably below or underneath or behind the glove box is where I'm thinking right now. We'll figure that out as we go to it. So this is kind of let's just do what we need to do. And then it comes, obviously the device actually plugs into the cigarette lighter that comes on it, so should be good to go. So we're at the vehicle right now. Right now I have the power cord, you can kind of see right here, coming down, that I brought down from the actual camera. It's just plugging into my DC outlet. So essentially what it does is this little box here, which is the brains behind the operation. There are some DIN switches right here that you can change, just 5 different ones, and they're either on or off. It's right binary. And they have a layout here that you basically go to choose, do I want to place on 12 or 12.5 to be the cutoff, or the 22 or 22.8 or 23.2. It's going to be for your 24-volt system. Do I want 12 hour, 24 hour, 72 hour, or indefinite for amount of time? So essentially those are the settings on here, and we can go into that here in a little bit. And then you have a main rocker switch on and off. The wiring harness, which plugs in back here, so this is what actually plugs into that. This is essentially just the wiring that gets to the battery and the power, but also is what provides power to the actual camera. So this now 12 volt cigarette lighter plug, right? Essentially 12 volt plug. You take it out of your vehicle, you plug it into this instead. This plugs into the system, and then you have 3 wires. And this is the hardest part of the whole thing. One ground, which is really easy. You just got to find a ground in there. So really 2 wires that you really got to worry about. And that's the positive battery power and the positive accessory power. That's the only 2 things, because your negative is going to be from your ground. So those 2 wires are the only thing we really have to worry about. It's going to take you the most amount of time. The battery power is probably going to take you the longest, because you should actually go to the battery, but you should also, to be honest, put a fuse in here. So you can go to the fuse box as well if you wanted to. You could go directly to the fuse box in the vehicle if you didn't want to go all the way up to the battery. As long as it's a constant power from the battery, that's all you need. So you may not need any additional wiring than what you have right here, because there's plenty of wiring to this guy. Now I'm going to put all this stuff on the passenger side, and then I'm going to run my wires over to where I need them to be over there. That's just how I'm doing it, because I already had the other wires that I ran earlier, and since I already pulled it up to the battery compartment, I'm just going to use it up there. So it's going to be different in your case, but my accessory power, which is the red wire, that one's going to be switch activated, power on, power off on the switch. That one I'm doing in basically at the driver's side right now. So that's going to be what it is. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to figure out where I want to mount this guy. And you can either mount it with screws. It does come with zip ties, and it also does come with 3M adhesive tape that you basically just stick onto the back. I may just do that for now, and then if it falls off, if it falls off, this tape's usually pretty good. Well, then I might just screw it into it. But for now, I think I'm going to use the 3M sticky tape to start. And then you're going to want to put this in an area that you at least have access to, because if you need to change any of the settings, you're going to want to be able to easily access these settings. So I'm going to kind of put it in a spot that as long as I'm on my knees, I can get to. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get this stuck on, and then to be honest, I probably should just plug this in now and then zip tie everything as we go. Yeah, and then I'll be back here in a second. So going through the book, you can see how we have here, just to see how the wiring goes. We have the yellow wire, that's battery plus, that's constant power. Red wire, accessory plus, that's switched power. We have the ground neutral, and then we have, of course, the 12 volt dash cam plug. This is going to be our DIN settings down here. 1 and 2 is going to be for type of battery, 12 volt or 12.5 volt. Mine's a 12 volt battery. And then you have your heavy vehicle, 22.8 or 23.2. You can adjust that as necessary. Parking mode, we have a main switch. So on the, on one side we have a main switch. Right on, buddy. And then you can adjust how much time you want for parking mode. I'm going to set it for 12 hours, so that's just DIN 5 on, the rest off. But you can adjust this as necessary as you would need it. So that's up to you. All right, let's show what we got. So this is underneath behind my this is my glove box here. You can see where I mounted that. I just used the adhesive tape and just stuck it up back here, and then the wires are coming down right now. I'm going to actually zip tie these all up so it'll look really good in the end. Or I'll hide them actually behind this panel that I removed. You can see that. So I have the yellow battery one connected to my yellow lead that I already pulled to the battery compartment. And then I have my accessory positive that's connected to my red wire, so I know red to red, yellow to yellow. My ground, I actually had to cut off the thing and put a new one on it back here. But it's grounded. That is a live ground, so I did find that is actually to the frame, so we're good there, or to the body, I should say. A great way to test that if you don't have just a light tester. This just has a light bulb in it, and it basically attached the lead to the bolt up there, and then touch it to a positive, something that I know has a positive signal, and the light will light up if it's a complete circuit. I love these things. They're fantastic. Mine's getting old, but it works great. So I have everything there, and then of course the actual power plug. This is going to go back here behind this panel as well, which is what my camera will plug into. So this is all set. I'm all hard in. Everything's good to go. Now, before I do anything with these wires, I might get them out of the way, but we're gonna head over and we're gonna actually hook up the accessory power first, and then the battery power. Now I got my fuse tap out and ready, so this is what it looks like. You have the piece that actually plugs into where the old fuse went. You have two fuse locations on the new fuse tap. The bottom one, the one closest to the bottom there, right? This guy here, that's going to be for your original fuse that you actually have to take out, if you have one that you have to take out. Sometimes you'll actually have a blank one in there that actually has auxiliary or keyed power. If you're lucky enough, I don't. All of mine are taken. So the original fuse is going to go in the bottom one, and the top one, these are fuses that actually came with it. This is a 5 amp fuse, which is more than enough for that. It's going to go, and this is what the low profile fuses look like. I don't know how well you can see that, but that's going to go in the top area here. Of course, if I can get it in, geez. But that's where it's going to go. So top one is going to be for the new fuse. Man alive, that's tight. Okay, that took some thumb power to get in there. So you can see there, the one that's in line with the new cord, that's for your new circuit. Sorry. So I have it in there. Should be good to go. And then I'll take the existing fuse out and plug it in there. That's going to then plug in where the fuse was. I'm using the fuse that's actually for my cigarette lighter plug down there. It's a great keyed circuit, and we don't use it very frequently, so that's what I'm going to use. Okay, so every vehicle is going to be different. This is a 2020 Toyota Sienna, but you can see, there we go, right up in, there we go. That is the internal fuse box, which just has a little cover, which I'm not probably going to be able to put back on because I'm going to have a fuse sticking out of this thing now. And that's fine. This is in a spot that doesn't get wet anyway. But you can see where all of those are. And then we have a diagram here on the lid, what we're taking in. So I'm doing, I think it's SIG 15 amp. I think that's the one I'm going to pop out and use. If you need to change or check it, you can use that same light bulb item, and maybe I'll show you how that works. Alright, I apologize if this is going to be bad video or not, but this little clamp here, this is actually found up in your, or at least in my amp, or the circuit breaker, the fuse box up in the engine bay has this puller. So I know that this third one in right here, this guy, this 15 amp, that was for the cigarette lighter. And to test whether or not it has power right now with the key turned off, I put my alligator clip right here, just on part that actually goes to the frame. And if I go up in here with my little probe, I touch either side, and I know for a fact that there's no power whatsoever. Let me turn the vehicle key on. Okay, now that we have power on, keyed on and my radio's not running. You can see I have my outer clip still here, and we're gonna run up and we're gonna touch both sides to make sure. So this is the vehicle side, this is the inside side, and there we go, there's the light up. So you can see that we actually have power, and the power is coming from the side of the fuse box that's inside on this fuse, towards the inside of the vehicle, not towards the outside of the vehicle. It's a real easy way. It's a lot faster than a multimeter, and very handy. So now that we're ready to plug the fuse tap in, this is another one. I already had the other one down there wired up, ready to be plugged in. One other thing I did want to mention is the reason I was calling out which side of the fuse was actually had constant 12-volt power and which one didn't, so which one did it cycle through, right? We want to make sure that that is not on the side that this is tapped into, right? So this tap is coming on in this case, the right side of the fuse tap, right? We want that to be the dead side, not the live side. So the live side we want to have on the outside side of this guy. So in my case, since the inside part of the vehicle is live power, I'm going to be plugging it in with that guy facing toward the outside of the vehicle, so that the live power is on the far side and it has to travel through the fuse to give power, right? I need it to travel through the fuse, not just directly in, because then it just negates the fuse in my case with the tap. So an easy way to tell that is you can tell where the tap, where this cable is coming in, and why that one fuse is hard to put on is I don't know if you can see that. You can see the connector inside there is a little bit different. That's for this guy. So the red wire side, that's the non-powered side. That's the dead side. And the powered side we want out here so it travels through the fuse. So yeah, that's how she's going to end, right? Just like that. So again, I apologize if this doesn't look very good. So I have my fuse here, my red line. This is the outside of the vehicle. And if I can see it properly, it's going to go in just like that. So now she's in, ready to go. I'm going to keep, you can see that I have my emergency brake right here. I want to keep that wire away from that. So I'm going to zip tie that up and out of the way. I apologize for that. But yeah, I'll zip tie these wires up so they're never a problem, so they're never going to be an issue. But that's that. And then this fuse cover I'm going to keep in my vehicle. Just, it's not going to be up here anymore, unfortunately. So up in the front head, on the battery itself, I already have a fuse, like I was saying before, which is a 10 amp fuse. I basically am pulling that off of that same fuse because I know this one's way underrated for what I have connected to it, and I don't use this frequently anyway. So she's pulling off that, and that's going directly to the battery. That's how I'm doing it, rather than going through the fuse box. But you can go either way, to be honest. It's not that big of a deal. Just make sure that you're not going to overdraw whatever fuse you have in here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and reconnect this to the battery now that I have it all wired up, and then I'll eventually zip tie everything else up in here too. That's all done. Everything's powered up here, so we actually should have power in there now, directly to the battery, and then also on the switch itself. So everything is wired. Now I just got to clean everything up. So I'm going to go through, zip tie everything up, make sure everything looks good, and then we got to actually plug in the camera to the 12-volt plug. So let me clean it up first, and then we'll be back. So we have the box. I did some cleanup. I plugged everything back, plugged everything in, including the camera. I have it plugged in right here. So it's all connected. I still have a little bit. This goes behind a panel here, so it's going to be cleaned up a little bit more. But I do have everything plugged in now. So let me kick on the power to the vehicle. So I started the vehicle, and you can see that everything is powered up on the camera. Down here, we have a light right there on the actual device itself. And then when I kick power off of the vehicle, turn the engine off, it still maintains power for parking mode. And that's what that main switch is parking mode. So I have parking mode set for 12 hours, but you can adjust that, and we'll go through that now. Now, like we talked about at the beginning of the video with the DIN switches, you can see I have DIN 2 on and DIN 4 on, or 5, sorry, 2 and 4, 5. And you can see on the far right-hand side there which way is on is up. So in the book, like we already went over that, 2 is, 1 and 2 is for the type of battery, and then 3, 4, 5 is the amount of time you want for the parking mode, and I have parking mode turned on, as you can see from that switch. So there we are. And all I have to do is clean this up a little more, put the panels back on, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so that was the BlackVue PowerMagic Pro. In all reality, it's not hard at all. As long as you know what you're doing with 12 volt stuff, which really is not that dangerous. You just want to make sure you have everything unplugged while you're doing it so you don't fry anything in the process. I did unplug, I didn't show it on the video. After I mounted the unit, I actually unplugged the back thing. So after I did everything, all the wiring, everything, nothing was going into that box yet until I went back and unplugged it back in. I apologize for not showing that, but yeah, it's best just to keep things unplugged while you're doing it. The easier way to do this would be using 2 fuse taps, one for a switched fuse and one for a constant power fuse. That's easiest. I had already ran wires up to the hood, so I was going to run up to the hood and go right off the battery on a fused one off the battery itself, which is essentially the same thing, just didn't have to use the fuse tap. But that would be the easiest way to do it, and you can obviously do it inside the vehicle like I did. One constant, one, and the way to find constant is if you have the everything turned off. Just use that light probe and find out. So I'm going to put links down below to the fuse taps that I showed here, to some fuses for if you want to actually pull up to the battery. I'll put that in there as well, and I'll also put it to one of those light probes that I have. That way, if you don't already have one of those, they're handy to have around. I've had that sucker for years, and it still is going strong. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for BlackVue for sending this over. I apologize it took me as long to show this. I know a lot of people have been asking me about it, and yeah, I wanted to get it done. So, that's Power Magic Pro. And now I have parking mode fully enabled on my BlackVue cameras on my 2020 Sienna, and I don't have to worry about using up a power port that's going to be used for other things. So, thanks again for watching. Please share, subscribe, like, comment below. If you have any questions, let me know. You can head over to TechGooch directly, just techgooch.com, and you can actually get a hold of me there if you have any questions for anything on TechGooch or on GeekSmart. So, thanks again for watching, and I'm sure I'll have a video review of this as well on TechGooch here soon. I'll put that link down below as well. So, thanks for watching, guys. Catch you back for a future video install right here on GeekSmart.